sing my song, darling. Glory, 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 hallelujah. This truth is marching and I love you.
Joe Longthorne doing what he does best, entertaining a packed house. But for Joe, it's been a long road and a hard one.
Yeah, around here. Sing it back to the band, ladies and gentlemen, singers. It's true, this marching and on me. It's true, this marching and
This is Hazel Road. It's always a bustling place. The centre of Hull is just down there. And this is where the young Joe Longthorne was educated, learned all about business and show business.
I was born in a little place called Rifle Terrace, which is off Walker Street. It was on a very famous place called Hazel Road. And you had to be like either a fisherman or a tinker or a traveller or a rag and bone man. And I was born in the thick of all this.
But you weren't a fisherman, so what were you?
No, I was born from travelling people. My father was with the fairgrounds doing the work.
And he always could put your hand, like the tinkers, to one thing or the other, maybe a bit of grinding, you know, street grinders, or tatting or anything. You was brought in, you know, brought up to it. And my dad brought it up. He even let me to drive a motor when I was about 10 or 11, down these back alleys. Put your foot on that, son, do this, son, and I'll be up there gathering some scrap, you know.
You'll have it to do one day.
It's in you.
But we used to help Mum to, you know, buy and sell, to go knocking on the door with pots, exchanging for clothes and all such like.
And Joe was soon brought into the family business.
I used to go out with my dad for quite a while. He used to have a house and car, and then he moved on to a truck. And I used to go out with him as early as 3, you know, sit with him while he do what we used to call calling, and go around and call different houses and things and collect his scrap metal and things.
So this is totting?
Totting,
sort
yeah.
of rag and bone?
General dealing.
When he used to leave school, I'd made him a barrow, a little hand cart. And the first thing he did before he had a cup of tea or anything or a sandwich, you know, he'd grab the barrow and he'd go up doing a bit of tatting all around the neighbourhood. And they all used to know him, and, hello Joe, I've got something for you, a bit of brass or a bit of copper, you know. And he used to come home loaded and then go out again with his little hand cart.
And Hazel Road was ideal territory for Joe's other fast-growing passion.
He used to go in the fish shop and sing, the corner of the street. And he would sing in there because the fishermen was all at work then, because it's all gone now, the fishing industry. And it used to get packed. And he'd go in there and he'd sing. He'd get fish and chips. And the lady would put them on the top of the pan to keep warm. Then somebody, will you give us another one, Joe? Well, I don't know, I have to hurry up. And if their hands didn't go in their pockets, they wouldn't sing a song or anything.
That was it. So that was my start. And I just loved it. So I went from talent competition to talent competition. And when we travelled on the road as well in trailers, because we used to do a bit of picking in Wisbeach, and we used to go around picking and stuff, you know, the full family and stuff, and meet other families up from Kent and things, and do a lot of this picking. And then I couldn't do that after a while, so I went to local talent shows. That's what I used to do, pick a father up and go in and sing. And now, I mean, I lost a few times as well, but I mean, it was a sort of a way of getting compensation for what you're doing. You know, you do what you do, but yeah, it's a funny old game.
And the funny old game was about to lead to fame and fortune. The bright lights of Las Vegas were still a distant dream, but round the corner was Junior Showtime.
And now, from Doctors, Palace of Varieties, a Junior Showtime spectacular!
This grainy home recording is the only reminder left of Junior Showtime, but in its day it was one of television's top-rated shows and gave a start to many young performers, Joe Longthorne among them. Your first break on television was the famous Junior Showtime.
Indeed, yeah.
So how did that come about?
Well, my mum went to, applied in the newspapers and the national press that Yorkshire Television were, again, auditioning kids to go on and go on as a spot on the Junior Showtime. And I went to do an audition in Grimsby, where I met Jean Pierce, that's the comedian Billy Pierce's mother.
He looked about 12, I didn't know how old he was, and he came in with another boy who played the piano for him, which was unusual because I was doing the playing. And he sang I Believe, and he sang it really well. I just sort of went, oh, not a bad note amongst it, and I just put on, you must use this boy.
Junior Showtime was run by the Bishop, the formidable Jess Yates.
He was a bit frightening, and I've seen him in some of his terrible moods and things, you know. He expected you to be able to do what you were doing right.
Joe had warned Jean that while he could sing, he couldn't read or write.
She stuck by me and she went to the Bishop and said, you know,
Jeff
we've got this kid here,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I can't really say what she said, but it was something like, well, you know, he's a good voice and stuff, and he's a bit cheeky, he does his stuff, but I'm sure he's going to do something, but he can't do scripts and things. But Jeff was a script man, and that was it, but he decided to give me a chance.
So he made his television debut, but fame wasn't instantaneous.
For the first 2 or 3 months on the TV show, I told all my friends in Hull, watch this one, man. You know, talk about Don Coloni. I said, I'm going to be a big this, that and the other.
All I could do was laugh because we didn't see him. All we could see was legs because he was dressed up as a rabbit or something.
Oh, that was his first tool. He was dressed up, and when he come home, he said, where am I? I said, there you are, rabbit.
His brother was
But
saying...
that was just to get used to it, he said.
So as we know who he was, Howard John said, that's his brother, said, that's it, I can tell his legs, mother. And I went from that, I thought, yes, it is him, you know, because it's never changed that way.
Then that would be it for a few more months. I'd be at the back again, maybe be a mushroom or something, or a lion, or a Chinaman. Because my friends say, oh, so that was me at the back, you know, I was that Chinaman that I used to get into fights and all sorts. But it was months before I actually took the front line, then I was invited by Bobby Bennett to come to the front, and then I used to compare the show with Bobby Bennett.
What Junior Showtime did was give him a taste for pleasing crowds. The days of being bombarded with bouquets in seaside theatres were still a few years off, but the young Joe Longthorne headed for Clubland.
It was a big drop coming off the television, I can tell you. And coming off as a child star, well, you know, it was a Glenpool and a few others, and Les Dennis and stuff. We'd come off sort of there, and you'd go from there to the programme finished, and that was the end of that. So we had to go and find some work. So for me, it was the clubs.
It was the mid-70s, and if people didn't go into the clubs by about 7 o'clock on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, they just simply didn't get a seat. And of course, one thing that all of these club owners that were all in competition against one another wanted, they wanted an act that could fill a place. And by the time that Joe reached the age of about 13, that's something that he could do, fill clubs.
Part 2, we'll find out how new faces gave Joe another push up the ladder.
Introducing the
It's the Tower, the Golden Mile, Candy Floss and Rock. It might not be Las Vegas, but Blackpool is definitely Joe Longthorne's kind of town.
I want to love you like a lover should, 'cause you're fine, so fine. I gotta tell the world that you're mama. You're in my nose, that's in my door. And I'm nervous, but you're as fun. Come on, baby, got me crazy. Good nails and races, great balls of ice.
Last summer, Joe broke box office records in a 16-week run at Blackpool's Grand Theatre, and he grew very attached to the building.
Oh yes, the world's a stage. Even an empty theatre, it's fabulous. Wonderful, wonderful building. You almost feel that even though it's empty, it feels somehow full. Probably the spirits that's played here, you know, it's been here before when they were alive, like Willie and Arthur Askin. People going back years and years. It's wonderful. 107 years old. And that's built in 1894. It's a fantastic living. It'd be like you get a grandfather clock that's 300 or 400 years old. When it ticks, it's alive. Well, this is the same. And hopefully tonight it will be packed.
Back in the late 70s, he wasn't playing 1,200-seater theatres. Hull pubs like this were more regular venues, until a talent scout for New Faces travelled from London to see him.
He said, you know, we shouldn't really be here because we have to have, we don't come out to see people. We have actually auditions in Waterloo. We do them down there. But we've heard a little about it, so he came over to see the show. And Shelley Bassey once, and he said, right, next Saturday, you're on the show.
My heart wants to know, and so
Impersonations had by now become one of the main selling points of Joe's act.
Imagine Sammy Davis singing it. With no stars to guide me, oh, and no one beside me. Or maybe Shirley Bassey. I'll go on my way, and after the day, the darkness will hide me.
That was unbelievable. Then it helped me incredibly. Then it lifted me from going from the clubs and doing a few summer seasons, of course, to with the Crankies and things, and right up there then, right to, you know, right sort of what you could say on the verge of making it.
Exposure to the mass audience of television led to summer seasons in Scarborough and other resorts, and Joe was firmly on the ladder to success.
Even when he was away from television, he was still able to command a superstar fees and be worthy of those superstar fees, because he could literally fill any theatre in the country. And that, if you like, is the real sort of way that a star can be judged, not by just being on television, but if you are able to pack a theatre without doing television. Joe, over the years, and it's something, a momentum that he's been able to maintain, and still does it today.
Success has brought Joe the chance to meet his idols, and a Royal Variety Award which he picked up in rather unusual circumstances.
Went to get changed, and lo and behold, I'd forgot my suit, so I cheekily asked one of the grumbleweeds. Well, it wasn't the little fat one, but I asked if I could borrow the suit, so they kindly said yes. I went on with the suit, one of the suits that they just had on when they went on, which was quite funny. But it was nice. That was good. They were good days, you know. Like I said, I've always had something to do, enjoyment during my life, to do with show business. There's always been something going on.
You are, I mean, you're a singer, you're a comedian, impersonator, entertainer, I suppose, covers everything. But so how do you see yourself?
I think it's, I like to look at it on the lines of, although I'm not anything like, but like the legend Sammy Davis Jr., because, I mean, I can't dance or play something, but you see, that's the thing. I mean, Sammy, was he a singer? Was he an impersonator? Was he an actor? This is a little bit similar to that. No, he was Sammy Davis Jr. That's what Sammy Davis Jr. covers it all.
Yes, I've got you deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart that you are really a part of me. I have got you under my skin, Sammy. I tried so hard, no, not to give in, whoa, and said to myself, this affair ain't never gonna go so well. Dino, but why should I try to resist when, baby, you know so well that I've got you under my skin. Sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of the warning sounds that come in the night and repeat all they yell in my ear. Don't you know, little fool, no, you never can win. Use your mentality, step up, wake up to reality. And each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop just before I begin. For I've got you under my skin. Ba-do-ba-doo-be-dee-be-da-da-da-da. Hey! I would sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you near, in spite of all the warning sounds that come in the night and repeat all they yell in my ear. Don't you know, fool, you never can win. Use your mentality, step up, wake up to reality. Oh, and each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop just before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. Whoa, baby, I like you, honey. Whoa, under my skin. I adore you under my skin. That's right. That's right.
Though he's renowned for his live shows, Joe did find time to go into the recording studio in 1994 and record a duet with Coronation Street's Liz Dawn.
Wait a minute. And I can turn better that way, can't
Like passing strangers now, how can you hurry by? There were never two love, half as much as you and I. Seem like passing strangers.
We had a number of titles, all of course duets. And I said, well, let's try Passing Strangers. Let me get together with the two of them. Let's rehearse it. Let's run it through. And of course, it was a natural choice.
I used to do it, didn't I, years ago?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, I did,
Liz,
yeah.
I did not know that.
Didn't you?
See what an head start, didn't you?
Oh,
but there was a few we was going to do, weren't we? We was going to do These Boots.
These boots were made for walking. Well, you know, it's been done.
The two voices go superbly well because Liz actually has a voice which is an octave down to a woman's normal singing voice. So she actually sings in exactly the same octave as Joe, which is quite unusual. And that's why the two voices actually marry brilliantly together, something which actually Billy Eckstine and Sarah Vaughan were never able to achieve.
I used to touch, going the way that road. Oh, I miss your kiss, you never know. You would only tell to me, speak my name just once more. You might find right there and then, strangers can be lovers again.
The record failed to hit #1, and Joe returned to relentless live shows.
Obviously, there's nights when one goes on the stage and, you know, you really don't feel like getting out of bed, never mind going on the stage. But, I mean, I always consider that people have have paid good money to come and see the show, and you've got to do your damn best, you know, whatever way you feel. And sometimes when I'm on the stage, I get pecked up by the audience, and then I go into another gear.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tom Jones. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. I saw the light on the night I passed by her window. Whoa. I saw the flickering shadow low on the blind. She was my woman. I should see me out of my mind. My, Delilah. Oh, yeah. Why, Delilah, I love you. Well, I could see that girl was no good for me. But I was lost like a slave, Lord man and free. Yeah. That break of day when the man of the way I was waiting. And I crossed the street with my knife. She opened the door. She stood there laughing. Wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Miss Dame Shirley Bassey. Thank you. I love you all. The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, a real big spender, good looking, so refined. Wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get back to the point. I don't got my cock for every man I see. He big spender, he big spender. Hey, big spender, spend at a time with me.
Next week, Joe talks frankly about his battles with cancer, his bankruptcy, and his descent into drug addiction, and about how he's bouncing back with his sights set on the top.